When AJ Griffin was taken with the 16th overall pick in the 2022 NBA draft, I immediately called that pick a steal because I had a top 5 talent grade on AJ Griffin as a prospect. I knew he had injury concerns and I knew he would fall in the draft because of it, but I still thought that the fall would be from a top 5 lock to somewhere late in the top 10. I didn't expect him to fall out of the lottery because I felt even with the injury concerns, he was well worth the risk of taking in the top 10. However, I was very happy that he landed on a team like the Atlanta Hawks because it would allow him to play with an elite playmaker like Trae Young and an all-around guard like Dejounte Murray, which is super beneficial given his skill set. AJ has been really good since becoming a consistent rotation player, which is shocking not because of his talent, because he had the talent to be a rotation player on a playoff team this early on, but because he's in the rotation this early on given the Hawks' history. AJ Griffin is a player that has a very high floor despite his young age. He was one of the youngest players in the draft. He's around a full year younger than the top 2 picks from his draft class. Plus, he's not that much older than a decent amount of the projected lottery picks in the upcoming 2023 NBA draft, only separated by a few months at the most. He's actually even younger than some of those first-round projected one-and-done players from the upcoming draft. And when you look at the baseline skills with him, you see a path where he's at the very least a good rotation player. He has a 6'6", 220-pound frame with a 7-foot wingspan, giving him the ideal frame for a wing, and he's an elite shooter. That alone is something that can get you 15 minutes per game in the rotation, but he can be so much more than that. AJ Griffin being an elite shooter is about more than just 3-point shooting. He has a very good shot profile in general. Now, 3-point shooting is a part of that profile. He's averaging 4 3-point attempts per game over his last 10 games, which is when he started getting consistent minutes. That accounts for 47.6% of his offense during that stretch. Now, 30 of his 70 jump shot attempts are not 3-pointers, which accounts for 42.8% of his jump shot attempts, and he shot 56.6% on 2-point field goal jumpers, which does line up with his 8 for 15 from the mid-range area during the stretch. It's a small sample size in general, but you see the signs of a player that can be efficient as a shooter in areas that aren't from 3 on top of that. But his 3-point shooting is what's most valuable, especially on a team like the Atlanta Hawks. AJ is mostly used as an off-ball scorer, and it makes a lot of sense for him to play that role. He's playing with Trae Young, who's one of the best playmakers in basketball, as well as Dejounte Murray, who's a really good playmaker in his own right. And given his elite shooting profile, playing off of those guys has been very beneficial. He's a pretty good cutter and decent finisher with good touch around the basket. Not somebody that's gonna take you to the rim all the time off the dribble and be this elite slicing threat, but being decent in this area is all you really need given his off-ball shooting and shooting ability overall with the role he plays on this team. Now, he does have on-ball shooting potential. It's very limited so far in his rookie season because he's on a team that's trying to compete and he's just not going to have that much freedom. But the signs as a pull-up shooter and off-dribble shooter are very encouraging on tape. And these are things I think can be expanded on over time if you let AJ play more with full second units, which is why I'm in favor of letting him play garbage time minutes in games that are blowouts so he can get those reps. Usually I would say that you could send a guy to the G League to get these kind of reps, but given that AJ has proven he can be a contributor as a rotation player this early on, it just doesn't make sense to send him to the G League. It's not something that I'm actually that worried about. I know it puts him in a bit of an awkward spot for long-term upside, but the Hawks are trying to compete with an established franchise player on the roster, so it just makes sense to have AJ play a role that he's already good at because it can benefit the Hawks' success right now, and what he can do right now is something that can benefit the Hawks for a long time as well. AJ Griffin has had an interesting path through the league. Around his junior year of high school, he was this high-flying scoring wing that I thought was one of the 2 best players in his recruiting class. However, due to injuries, his athleticism is different now. He's not the explosive player like he was in high school. Now, he's not a bad athlete, but he's clearly not the same athlete right now that he was a few years ago. Can he get that athleticism back? who knows? He's had a weird injury situation that may have stunted a few things, or maybe it's just about getting back to that level, but only time will tell about that. However, regardless, he's still a high potential player. This is a player with the ideal frame for a wing in basketball. 6'6", 220 pounds with long arms, and he's only 19 years old. And on top of that, he has a shooting profile that most his age don't have. He can be elite off the ball in catch and shoot situations. He's shown the potential to be an off-dribble and pull-up shooter, and he's shown potential as a good mid-range shooter. He has the upside to be one of the best shooters in basketball with on-ball creation ability. He has a chance to be an extremely versatile and lineup flexible offensive player due to what he can do as an off-ball scorer and his potential as an on-ball scorer. And that's an extremely valuable player to have on any team, let alone a team trying to win. It's too early to claim that this team messed up or that team messed up passing up on AJ Griffin in the draft. It's only been about 20 games into these guys' rookie years, and a lot can change over time. But what I can say is that AJ is showing why he was viewed as a top 5 guy in the draft by some analysts going into the year, and he's returned top 10 pick value early on while also doing it on a team that's competing. I do think the Hawks situation has benefited AJ when it comes to playing off of elite playmakers, but I do think he'll be putting up around 13 to 15 points a game on decent efficiency in a situation where he got more on-ball opportunity. I don't think he would be this super efficient scorer like he is now if he was in a situation where he got more opportunity and wasn't playing with guys like Trae Young and Dejounte Murray, but I do think he's talked about in that upper echelon of rookies if he's getting around 30 minutes per game and getting more on-ball reps. However, again, that's not the biggest deal in the world. Long term, being on a winning team, or at the very least a team trying to win, will benefit AJ. And he's going to enter that upper echelon rookies discussion regardless if he keeps playing the way he has since becoming a rotation player. But I'd love to hear what you think about AJ Griffin in the comment section below. Do you think he's going to be a star? Do you think he's going to be a role player? Do you think this is a fluke? Do you think he's just benefiting from playing off of great playmakers? Or do you think that if he was on a team where he got more opportunity, he'd still be putting up really good numbers? Love to hear all of that in the comment section below. Again, sorry for not really uploading much over the past week or so. Of course, it was Thanksgiving week, so I was back home with my family, so spending time with them. Didn't really have time to work on videos, but be prepared because we do have December coming up, and I'm going to try and do daily uploads in December, so I can't wait to do that. I have some stuff planned out, can't wait to show you guys that. But with that being said, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.